Boomers don't seem to hate anything more than their offsprings. For us members of Gen Z and millennials, the system was built for us. The way they raised us, even the way we live our lives, were all created by the boomers. Yet, when things get tough, the 401k dries up, and Facebook is filled with Trump, everyone starts pointing fingers at each other, wondering who to blame. So today, here in this video, let's cover some different complaints that old people have about the younger generations, as well as why these newer generations might feel the way they do. And if you've personally been enjoying my daily doomer commentaries around here on the page, feel free to like, comment your thoughts, opinions below, and subscribe to see my daily videos right here on the channel. And a huge shout out to all you guys who are going above and beyond supporting by checking out those links down below in the description and hitting that big red subscribe button. We just hit 5,000 subs here on the channel, so we're so close to 100,000. I can taste it, but either way, I'm going to appreciate you guys, and let's begin the shit show.
You're going to be sorry someday. If the computers go out or something goes out, they won't know how to react, how to add, subtract, how to read a book.
Most of the younger generation are very selfish. They don't like to give up anything, all except my family. They're great people, and they're learning. They're learning about life, they're learning about people, and one can't expect them to be perfect, but that I don't expect myself to be perfect either.
I hope they keep busy, and I always worked, and I think they should all at least have a part-time job when they get old enough.
In a way, I feel sorry for them because they don't know the joy and the happiness that being part of a family brings. We're all so scattered anymore.
They still have a lot to learn. We all learn as we go down the path, and they still have a lot to learn. That's why they're young. They can keep learning and keep learning.
Now, I personally always find it so interesting to hear both sides of the aisle of whatever side, and depending on whatever topic of conversation is being had at hand. And with this one, in this video, we're talking about how the older generation feels about the younger generation, and you definitely got a quite various range of different opinions and perspectives right there in this video that we just watched. And I want to really put in perspective how not all of them were negative, but the first few, I want to really cover some of those. Some of their complaints were that maybe when one day all the computers shut off. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, Grammy, but that's never going to happen, I don't think. Pretty much the entire world is ran off pretty much like electronically these days. 92% of all cash is transferred digitally, electronically. It's not physical media, it's not physical cash, it's not in your hand, in your wallet, in your pocket. It's online, in your bank account, and it's basically imaginary. Money doesn't really exist anymore. But it's kind of funny really put into perspective how every single company, every single system even runs off of electronically. I mean, the majority of employees get paid through direct deposit. The majority of businesses, they make most of their money, especially fast food industries, they make most of their money off of their apps these days. So I don't really think it's going to go anywhere. I think it's only going to get more and more established into the modern society. And so I think that take is really, she's saying that take from the world she lived in, not really realizing how vastly different the world we live in today is. Now, the second lady said how selfish the younger generations are. And again, going back to nobody taking any sort of self-accountability, now everybody is different, everybody is who they are, and some people are selfish, no matter how old or young they are, or, it does not matter which generation they're from. But you have to realize that you guys raised us to be who we are today. So, especially if they're from your family, if all the younger people in your family were raised to be that way, let's take a little bit of self-accountability here. Like, maybe that's the reason why they act the way they do, and they treat you the way they do because they're just kind of modeling and like resembling you. So let's kind of get that out of the water there. Sorry to make that a little bit, personal, but that is kind of how children act, is they, reflect their parents and their upbringing, and that's kind of how that works. So let's take some self-accountability there. I really hope we can do some of that. And then what I really want to put into perspective is not every one of these older people has a negative outlook on the younger generation. A lot of them actually do want to see us succeed and thrive and do better than even they were able to do. And a lot of them realize it's not always as possible as the way they were able to do it. So feel free to let me know all your guys' thoughts and opinions regarding any of this stuff we just talked about, and as well as if your age and what you think about this whole stuff.
Have you all realized how the boomers have been a little more quiet when it comes to picking on the millennials and Gen Zers, especially the past few months? And I think the reason is that they are now feeling what we were complaining about 3 years ago. And the reason that we knew that inflation was going to really fuck us is because we were the ones renting, seeing these high increases, or we were trying to buy a house and seeing how far out of reach it really was. So we saw it coming. But the boomers, I think, originally weren't affected. But now here we are 3 years later, I think their property taxes went up, their homeowners insurance went up, maintenance and services around the house went up, and of course, groceries, insurance, car prices, everything has gotten so expensive. And I think the boomers are now hurting because they are on a fixed income. And what this basically boils down to, even if the richest generation who had the greatest 3 decades to build wealth in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s are now struggling in their retirement from following to go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a good job, work for 40 fucking years, and then retire, and they're not even comfortable. That is proof that we're not the crazy ones. We're just seeing through it and going, this maybe used to work for a lot more people, but it just doesn't now. It just doesn't work.
Now, this is an idea that's finally starting to come into fruition that, you know, a lot of the older people that do feel some certain type of way about the younger people in this modern day society, they're starting to kind of realize their complaints and starting to kind of, you know, listen to them, be like, you know what, maybe these younger kids have a point. Maybe they're not just trying to be rebels and not just trying to go against the system and being, you know, like they're not just like the new day hippies just trying to, you know, say screw the man. They actually might have a point here. It might just kind of be, you know, pitchforking against the system that doesn't really solve anybody's problems, only, you know, only perpetuates the problems and continues to ignore them and then gaslight everybody into thinking it's our fault. You know, the system was made to be, you know, it's supposed to be equal exchange. You know, the population helps the system helps population. And now they've tricked us where it's like, in reality, the population runs the system, but the system tricked us into thinking that we need them to survive, when really we're the only way they even we literally are running the system. I mean, when you can't really ever leave America if you were born here because you'll always have to pay taxes. If you do leave America, you'll still be paying taxes. So, you know, we are just property. We are just, we are just gears grinding along, creating this system, this foundation that we don't really ever get much of a piece off of. And unless you're in the top of the pyramid, or unless you know somebody who is, you're able to build those sweet connections. Probably had to stomp all over some people to get to that position. We're kind of not really feeling that positive about the current lifestyle. Doesn't matter what age you are, how old you are, what generation you're from.
Boomers shitting on Gen Z when they're the ones who created them. Do you know that 50 years ago there wouldn't be a single parent that went to a school and fought for a kid to get a better grade on their report card, and now that is common? People are like, it's social media's fault. No, it's not. It's parenting in the modern world is now about being your friend's kid, not their parent. We're not calling our kids out on their bullshit. You can't create fake environments. We've created an entire generation of zoo animals. Everything's nice and daisy. The problem is they turn 22 and they have to live in the real world. And then a zebra that grew up in the Bronx Zoo goes into the wild, dies within 3 seconds. The lion bites his fucking head off.
Now, this is the good old Gary V. You know, he's kind of like a cartoon character in terms of how he treats his personality, but I do respect him. He definitely has gave me a lot of motivation through my, you know, journey of doing whatever I do here online. But what he's talking about here is how I really, like I said, you know, some self-accountability, and I do want to really realize that, like, you know, when these Gen Z millennials, sorry, I hit the mic, when Gen Z millennials, when any kid becomes an adult, it's their responsibility to mature and grow up and face, you know, the life lessons that come with getting age. But at the same time, it's the parents' responsibility to, you know, course them in the right direction and help them, you know, pat them on the back when they need to be pat on the back, help them get up on their feet when they need that, and help them kind of coast along so they don't have to be so alone. And if you are a parent that maybe you're going to say, well, I didn't have that when I was growing up and I made it just fine. Shouldn't you want to do better for your own children? And if you see the society that you're around, if you're going to say, well, you guys just aren't really owning up to, you guys have all the technology, you guys should have way better start than we did, well, maybe try to show them that instead of just gaslighting them into being like, you know, you're so ungrateful, you're so negative, you just want to be, you're just selfish, which in reality, some people definitely are. Like I said, does not matter the age group. There's always a category of selfish people in the world. But I don't think it's a generational label type of thing. I think it's just an individual basis-to-basis type of situation. But let me know your thoughts, opinions. Maybe your experiences tend to be different, and maybe that has shaped your perspective differently. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, opinions, and feel free to share whatever. I do read all the comments, so let me know. Yeah, guys, that's going to wrap up today's video discussing how boomers hate Gen Z and millennials, and Gen Z millennials have no hope for the future because of boomers, but that's not really always true. It's not the full case, but I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts, opinions, breaking down all these different thoughts and perspectives and opinions, as well as hearing your guys' own personally thoughts, opinions. I always like to read those comments. It definitely goes such a long way in supporting the videos. I definitely think they help push the page, so I've been, and I definitely enjoy reading them. It goes a long way, so thank you so much, everybody who goes above and beyond and checks out those links down below in the description. Those are some of the best ways that shows your support around here, and all that good stuff. So, thank you guys so much. We just hit 5,000 subs here on the channel, which I only really started this page like 7, almost 8 months ago. So 5,000 subs in like a little over half a year. Yeah, that is impressive in my book. Might not be a lot to everybody, but that's a lot to me. So I more than appreciate you guys. You guys have really helped me out in my tough times and have been there for me in the DMs, in the comments, in life. So thank you. Stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed the content, and I hope to see you next time. So stay tuned. See ya.